the call booth, if you like, so we can have a private conversation. But yeah, good to have the convo. I take it you are out of the UK at the minute.
Yes.
Good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, I wanted to pick up on our conversation from when we met and explore where you are, the vision around the London um, school, effectively, and to see, just to lean into it and understand where you're at with it, where you've got to, what's worked, what hasn't, and to see where if there's any angles where we can um, escalate the potential of that coming together.
So I gave you the background that the reason I started the school was because I wanted to take advantage of the time which we have as a teenager of learning. I mean, I think that's the best period to become whoever we want to become, and it's really difficult to change into another person once you become somebody, and then it's really challenging to change that. The founder of Sony Corporation says that the age is 2 years of age. After that, you can't learn anything, or at least 90% is already done. Some people say it's 5. So I am experimenting with 10, 9, 8, 9, 10 years of age. And initially, when I started off, I wanted it to be 10 to 12 years of age of people who I can work with for the next 4 years, who I assign a world problem. And then all we learn is how to solve that world problem. So then such a thing called SDG came. The Sustainable Development Goals have already documented all the world leading problems. And then there are 160 sub problems of the SDG goals. So you can kind of say that those goals are what we teach to the students to solve. And the way we solve them is through networking, through learning through the internet, learning through the AI, and basically, what we use in the real world is what I wanted to create so that my own children and other people's children don't end up wasting time on memorizing and learning stuff which we really don't need in the real world. So, are you at the conduit or somewhere else?
Uh, no, somewhere else.
Somewhere else. So if you have been to Conduit or another private club like a co-working space, my school kind of looks like that. And because it's more fun, it's supposed to create space for where you make friends for a lifetime, you hang around with the people you like, you do stuff which you makes you happy, and you don't really follow what everybody else is telling you, and then you become a master of one thing in the next 10 years which you spend with me. So I kind of am teaching what I have learned all my life in the 50 years I have lived on this planet. I have compiled a process which is kind of in my head right now, and it's coming on to documentation of what we want to do. And but primary reason is to take advantage of the times before the hormones kick in, before the girlfriend kicks in, before the rent kicks in, before life kicks in, and you become a Malala, you become a Greta Thunberg at a very young age, focused on one problem and just talking about it and learning about it and becoming a leader about it at a very young age. That will allow you to solve that problem for at least 10 million human beings, and in future, say 10 years later, you have solved that problem. Now you already know how to solve another problem. Look at Elon Musk. He solved the PayPal problem, and then he went into Tesla problem, then he went to the spaceship problem. Now he's going for the money problem. Whatever you are, so why not create millionaires at high school level rather than creating just queens people, which the school was designed to be initially.
Yeah.
That's the model initially. Now when I started it, I had no idea that I had to. It ended up being in a poor area, and I had to teach them how to earn money, which is a good thing. And the parents were poor, and they were not very too much bothered about what I'm doing. They trusted me because I have a reputation in my country. People trust me, so they bring it on. Okay, we just want you to make our children like you did with your own, and you did to yourself. And that's kind of the template which we are applying. I did not imagine that I'll be doing this in London like in a year later. But when I came for the BET conference, and you and another person, two other person actually kind of are forcing me to consider doing this in the UK and the US. And I'm kind of happy and shocked because it's an experimental school. I had
Mm.
no interest to scale it, but the sexiness of London will help the idea to go around faster for sure. It will London allows me to make it global because it's an English speaking space with country, I mean, citizens from all around the planet, including from Pakistan, Nigerians, all the people who are wanting to bring change to their own country are residing in London already. They don't live in Pakistan, and having a school like this would be fantastic. It'll be beautiful to have students like that. When I started off, I thought the kids will have an understanding of English. Will have an understand. I thought they will be like my own children, but they were not. My students at my school did not have access to the internet, did not have access to the mobile, did not have access to a computer. They only got it this year, last year, and within the first year, I was just teaching them how to type, how to use the computer, how does Google work, how does basically anything actually works. Now, a year later, I'm actually enjoying um, talking to some of these students because they're faster than the people who have been working with me for 10 years. Because these kids are I was just having a class just right before you joined me, and it was for 2 hours. But then I actually had the same class yesterday with a 15-year older. But in this class, I was trying to teach the teachers. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to teach you anymore. Here's a student. She will teach you. She's better than you guys are. I have taught her yesterday. It was like a flow of teaching. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed teaching her. But you guys, I have to tell you like 6 times to do the same thing. You're not getting it. So I found this that the students are better than the teachers, and they agree, and the teachers themselves understand this, and they agree with this because they were born, and you and I were born in a different time.
Yeah.
These kids, the school principal which we have in our school is 27. He started to use computer first time this year, last year actually, when I got him a computer. Before that, he was think it's evil, it's stay away from it and don't use it. But now he was telling me the story yesterday that his own 14-year-old child, 14 month child, is able to skip YouTube ads, is able to watch what she wants. She cries if she doesn't get played the content which she doesn't want, and she doesn't know how to speak, but she knows how to watch YouTube. And this is the new era, and which
Mm.
we are kind of unable to accept it. So, where do I stand with the London school? I'm all for it. Am I ready to start it on my own tomorrow? Absolutely not. I don't
Yeah.
even have friends there yet. I don't know how to acquire 40 students. I wouldn't know where to start. But if somebody is as crazy as I am to do this and burn a little bit money, because it's not going to make money for the first 2 3 years for
Yeah.
sure. It can, maybe, but it's like a startup, and you don't know what will happen. So if I find uh, some crazy money, which mean crazy money as in like
Yeah. I
people
know.
who will bet on losing it, like the school I'm running right now is coming from my own pocket. I'm burning around $150,000 a year right now, but in Pakistan, that's like $1.5 million a year.
Mm.
So if it was UK, it's going to be 20x or 15x at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
So just a rough estimate. I used ChatGPT to make up the numbers I sent you. I made the proposal using ChatGPT. It took me like 10 minutes to do all that, and I just throwed it at you,
Yeah,
just to see how powerful this stuff is. And if we could leverage this, we could really tap into the abundance of the human
yeah,
mind and human planet. You know.
yeah. Thank you. And this is where my interest comes in, because I I align with what you're doing. I think it's needed, and it's timing. There's a massive shift going on, and we don't necessarily need to go into that at this point. But there is a clear need for this, and the whole education, the way that it's going to be running is going to be completely different. And for me, this is the first time I've seen someone actually make momentum with it rather than be speaking about it. So I was, yeah, genuinely, blown away, honestly, when you got up and shared it. And so where does my interest go beyond that? Um, because for me, my background, and just to touch on that in a little bit more depth, my expertise, if you like, is around raising the funds for projects, and that can be across sectors. And I've done it for numbers of years across multiple sectors for hundreds of businesses and people at all levels. And what I look for is, you say about crazy money. I can see the type of people and investment you would get behind this. It's more to do with the mission, the movement, the impact it's going to have, but also there is a potential financial model in there that could generate as well. So for me, the USP, if you like, with my own business is that I'm strong at bringing this package, this story together. But the story has to have more than just the emotional element to it. We need to make sure that it's a robust business model and it appeals to a certain sector, and then we identify who those people are, and then we would take it out and have conversations with them. So there's a process to what I would do and how I approach it. So when I was speaking with yourself and hearing you speak to others, I could see all the pieces that were needed were there. And it feels to me like we just need to package them together. We need to stress test it a little, and then we need to take it out and speak to a few people. I personally, in my approach to this, um, I wouldn't necessarily straight away go out for a raise. I wouldn't do that. It's just not the model I run. I build the story. I look at all the key elements of this as a movement and as a mission, and also include some robust business modeling. But then I would go out to certain people that I value, and speak to them about what is it that would make this. What is it that would make this investable? So we're not going out for a raise. We're going out to gain the interest from investors to get their feedback relative to what we're doing. Now, why is that important? It gives us valuable feedback. It also tests the market for where we want to take it. And it also helps us fix it before we go out for a raise. And that's how I would approach it. I have a personal, interest in it because my own background and my own experiences through life, and the almost like a calling, I would call it, throughout my years all the way through, that this is the way forward. This is so important to unlock this, what I call the value in another human being. There are different ways to do it, and I think the old way has been really it just doesn't work for so many kids, so many people. And I think so many people live their life because of that, with a locked up value that's never comes out. And so I'm excited by this and interested in it, and I also believe in it as a model. Financially, I think that there'd be plenty of investment for it, but we have to do the work around it first. And I'm interested to do that. I'm interested to start to go to work on it, and work with you to create that, what I would call the initial product of it, the initial story, and then we would test it. And it may not be, it might end up being a New York version. It might end up being a London version. But the way that we work, we would create the model, the concept, the story, and the value of that in a way where it could sit anywhere. Because if it works in London, it works in New York, right? There's various places where we could do that. So yeah, before I go on, are we on the same lines?
I am Stuart, but before starting this for 25 years, I was going around the world and talking to people and trying to convince them. Just like you were saying, there's a lot of people who talk about it, and I was one of those person who were talking about it. And I saw that everything I was telling, oh yeah, we agree, that's totally true, that should happen, but nobody was really up for doing it. And now I am kind of having this emotion like a mother for this project where I don't want anybody to tell me how to raise my child. So if there is any money which comes attached or to this is how you should do it, I don't want to hear them. I will just cut off.
Yeah,
And it's and this is not my personality normally, but I just gave birth to this thing, and this is the first, or well, not the first time what am I doing a startup, but I'm very possessive of the process at this time
yeah,
because I don't think I have a lot of years left in my body to leverage that, okay, let's try this. Oh, I already know
yeah,
I have raised enough children in my life, I mean, my own and others, that I think this is what I want to stick to. And I'm very stubborn about it at the moment. I was never like this.
yeah,
So, as long as we can do it the my way or the highway thing for now, at least for the next 2 years, so that I can actually fail and believe that, okay, fine, you do it. I can't do it anymore.
yeah.
But that's where I am right now. I apologize for being
No,
arrogant.
don't apologize. I am gonna, I'm
But
gonna,
there's a reason. But there's
yeah,
a reason behind it. That because I have I really believe in myself on this one for the first time, very aggressively, and I think I can go solo on this where I am, and it'll be slow. When you have a team, it's or you have money to burn, it's faster. But when you're alone and you're just alone and crazy, it's just slow. But it is what it is. So that's my only concern, that if I'm not comfortable in putting in my own $500,000 in London and trying to do that, I would rather put that in Pakistan because I understand the country, I understand the people, I understand the challenges. And second of all, the in the DNA, I put in, when you go for a cup of tea, you have an option to, you get the milk separately, and then you get the tea separately, and you get the water separately. And then there's a dhaba or a chai wala where you get chai latte, and that's it. You don't have a choice. So I am more of in the DNA of this school, I'm putting in where people who either take a franchise or copy this model have the liberty to make it according to the Londonites, according to the New Yorkers, according to the people living in Kathmandu, so that they can take the local version of it. You can't sell meat in Delhi, India. You have to go for a veggie burger. So you have to change it, and I am very up for it. But right now, I don't even know what I'm cooking, and
I get it.
but it's working. I went to a guy who teaches 50,000 school principals, and he said, Rehan, what you've already done is already good enough, franchise it. I'm like, no, I'm not ready for it. But if you want, here's a copy of it. Here, we can make another model. You can copy it, you can scale
Yeah,
it. Bye. I'm not interested. I'm one of those crazy people who would not attracted to the money part of it, but I just want to get, till when are we going to live like this humans, right? So I apologize again, uh, that if this is it, fine. If you want another model, we can experiment with another model, but I don't have really a lot of bandwidth on that.
yeah. No, I appreciate and respect that. I know I'm smiling because I align with it. The core focus of our business is around the whole raising money concept, is that when you are a founder or an entrepreneur, my driver is to make you the buyer and not the seller. So quite often in raising money, the VC or the angel or the investor is the buyer, and you almost have to prove to them, and almost like, how will you, what do you want me to do for you to invest? And my big goal here with Fund Labs is to change that dynamic so that you are the one of value, but so I can work with someone so that they become such a valuable opportunity to someone. They dictate to what they want. And why that's important to me is because, like you, I understand when we get to a certain point in our lives, it's almost like an innate, it's, I would call it like a channeling, or it's a feeling that this is bigger than me. And when that project, like you're describing, is bigger than you, then you'll make decisions in a completely different way. And so I completely get where you're at, and I think for me that tells me that where you're taking it is almost like it's on it's on a, there's a plan with it, and you're almost following the plan, you're not creating the plan. And I think that's really important to tune into and go with. And for me, that's important. So yeah, again, this is why I value these conversations, to understand from your perspective, what does success look like. There's so much money in the world, and you can tap into it at any level, but you don't, that's not what this is about. This is not about the money or the investment. It's not coming at it from that perspective. We're coming at it from what's the purpose, and what do we need to make that happen. And sometimes it's a certain type of investor, sometimes you don't need investment. Sometimes it's about, you might generate an interest in this, or a movement from a whole different kind of uh, perspective from a funder. And so there's so many ways to fund it, and I think that's secondary. The first thing for me is to understand, what does success look like for you for this, and where and how. That's where I would start. We model it different. We model it from what you want to achieve, what does success look like for you, what's the vision, what's the goals, what's the opportunity that you want to execute on. And then we look at, okay, who's the ideal investor, if any, for this. And so my model is different to what you would generally see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally understand.
And for me, it's just like, we together we could have more conversations like this, and I would start to, I'd want to understand more about where you're coming from, what you want to achieve, what do you see, and then we would build that as the foundation to what we need to be working on. That's where I would start. I don't start with the money in mind at all. This is where I think we get most of our success. We work with what's the plan? Where do you want to go with this? What does it look like? And then we build it from there. That's the foundation of it. I even in the way that I model this, we don't go out and speak to investors, right? We're not interested at this stage. We're interested in what are we trying to build, or what are you trying to build, and then we take it from there. But yeah, I think you've highlighted one of the most important points as well. If you approach this as a process, which is, what do you want it to look like, and what do you want it to not be? That's really important. And because sometimes you can start to lose sight of what you're actually trying to achieve if you go down that route of trying to raise the money. I don't think we're looking to raise the money. I think we're looking to understand, how do you establish this, and what's the best way to do it in line with what you're trying to achieve.
So I was watching one time interview of Bill Gates, and somebody asked him, um, "What will happen after you're gone, and how does Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation work after this?" So he said something which was very provocative and very different than what I've ever heard. It was like, "Look, I've made this foundation for certain goals, and I think they will be over within so many years. And after that, I don't know. Somebody else will take the torch and take the next batch of problems and solve them." So right now, as humanity, I think that killing 30,000 human beings in Gaza was wrong. I also think that 600,000 people dying every year of malaria is wrong. We have a guy who's against malaria. He's very powerful. He's very famous. He's called Bill Gates. He's like after malaria like anything. He's squatting the mosquitoes left and right. And it's fantastic. Then we have climate change, which is a gigantic problem. But then we have a little girl who's out there and actually trying to solve that problem. And that's just one person. So if you look around the world, there are certain problems which are very complicated and they're long term, 20-year problem, 30-year problem. Uh, but if we don't tackle them, it won't happen. And democracy or politicians doesn't work anymore because they're only after the votes. and they can't plan more than 4 to 5 years of time, because if they don't go and do what the voters ask them to do, nobody's going to work with them, and they'll be gone, and it doesn't work anymore the way we need it to work. If we look at the last 20 years, the only two amazing countries which have emerged are not democracy. One is Dubai, and second is China. Both of them are authoritative, that this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, let's do it. And there was a gigantic momentum against their will. My thing is that I want to create the next 1,000 leaders, the next 1,000 Malalas, the next 1,000 Nobel laureates, the next 1,000 geniuses, who are going to take one small little problem which is dealt by 10 to 100 million human beings, and that's it. That's all I am interested in focusing, and then I can die. I have no problem in after that. What happens after that, we don't know, because we really don't know how AI is going to outplay in 10 years. We don't know how the technology is going to evolve. We have some ideas, but we don't really know exactly how it will look like. So I don't have a grand plan to conquer the world. All I'm interested in, getting some amazing children out there who are learning from age 8 to age 21 to become the next Malala, the next change maker, the next Steve Jobs, the next Bill Gates, and we train them on one very focused thing. And that's all. The school system doesn't allow them to focus. Their school system is forcing them to think in a different way. I'm saying no more thinking. Done thinking. This is it. This is all. I'm like being a very bad Asian parent saying, hey, you have to be a doctor. That's it. You don't have a choice anymore. So I'm only seeking only those small little this is small little impact, which is geared to this. And those kids need to be from all over the planet. They can't just be from Pakistan, because it's not a Pakistan problem. It's a global problem. Pakistan has a different sets of problem. UK has a different sets of problem. It's just a process which I have created, which I think is um, is fantastic for this time and age. That's it. I mean, every time needs a different learning. Like 200 years ago, we needed to know how to ride a horse. 500 years ago, we needed to know how to do a sword. We needed to be like gigantic, like you, or not like a squishy bunny like me. Like, I don't have any energy in my body, right? My body is very agile. It's not I'm not athletic at all. I can't punch someone, so I'm very nerdy. So, but we need to leverage this social media. We need to leverage this AI. We haven't done it. We had not. No education institution is leveraging this power, and by accident Greta became Greta. By accident Malala became Malala. No more accidents. We can create more systems to create uh, these kind of phenomenal human being without doing surgery on them, without doing DNA alignment in them. We don't need superhumans like they talk in the science horror movies, but we want to take advantage of the what we have, and just train them to become the best cricketer, the best soccer player, just like best swimmer. That starts at 5. The best musician, Mozart was like 7 when he was playing for the king, right? So where's the next Mozart? We don't know. You're not good enough. You just go to school. You need to learn English. You need to learn maths. Why? I'm good at piano. Let me be phenomenal at the piano thing. No, you have to learn everything. That's all my thing is right now. Venus, and I think there are gazillions of humans around the world doing nothing. We can just funnel them through this process, and we can produce those next phenomenal leaders um, uh, for this. And um, let me give you one last minute eating your head. I was at the BET conference, and BET is the largest technology education conference in London, in the world, and it's in London. I was standing in a booth, and a guy came up and introduced himself. Hi, Mr. Rehan, how are you? I said, I'm fine. Oh, you don't remember me? I said, no, I don't remember you. I'm sorry. We had lunch in Dubai like 8 years ago. I said, I am so sorry. I absolutely don't remember you. Well, I remember you, and there's something you said to me which I tell every week to someone. And I said, oh, wow, okay. Can you remind me what did I say? He said he worked for a school which has over $2 billion a year revenue. $2 billion a year revenue, right? It's not a small number. And the guy who runs it is friends with Bill Gates. I met Bill Gates over there. I met like five prime ministers at his conference, blah blah. And he's like a phenomenal guy. But this guy wanted to open a school branch of their school in Yemen, and he said, I asked him a simple question. Apparently, he said I asked him like, if your school is so phenomenal and you charge like $2,000 a month, why haven't you produced the next Steve Jobs? Where is the next Steve Jobs? And he said, that has stuck in my head for the last 8 years. And well, I said, well, you didn't do it. So I'm working on doing that myself in my school. That's what I want to produce. I want to produce the next phenomenal leader. That's all I'm interested in. I'm not trying to make, uh, like the best score in A levels or O levels or whatever. Just make an impact. So yeah, sorry to you're just getting it all out.
Is wonderful to listen to, is wonderful to hear, and it's important for me to understand as well, because these are all the key elements that I need to be able to understand, to be able to work with you to package it up, as I would say, in order to be able to understand what we're going to build, or what we want to develop in order to take it out in the UK, effectively in London. For me, the thousand leaders, creating the next thousand leaders, what you're sharing and the way that you've approached this and what you're doing makes total sense to me. I think it is the way forward. That is the shift that we're going through. Some people will just go blindly through this shift that we're going through at the moment, and I think it's one of the most amazing times to be alive. But you also got to lean into it and understand how you can leverage it, how you can use this time. And I think there's going to be two parts. There's going to be those people that just don't take any notice and they just flow with it, and there's others that see it as one of the most powerful opportunities for us to lean into. So I totally get where you're at with it. It makes complete sense to me. The way that you're approaching it with, the not just the passion, but how important it is to you that it's done in a certain way. That's so key. I love that. So key. But yeah, for me, Rian, there's an alarm going off here. Sorry about that. For me, I can see how we can work on this to start to bring this together and test it to take it out. I'm up for doing it. I'd love to share more with you on a call how we would start to model this out and how we would gain the interest. We have to almost reverse engineer it from what is the level of interest we want, what type of interest, and from who, and and see if there's a match between what you want in respect of your vision and who that aligns with. I just can't see, having done this hundreds of times, I don't see why it wouldn't work, why it's not going to work. I just, there's not one element of me that looks at this and says, oh, that's going to be tough. Quite the opposite. I'm excited to start to pull it together and share with you what I see, because I do this day in, day out, and I again, almost like an innate understanding of what you have. And yeah, I mean, I'm ready to move on it, and I'm prepared to invest my time into it, and see where we could take it.
So when I was sending you numbers, I sent it only for 40 students, and even at 40 students, it makes $500,000 of income for 200,000 or $300,000 investment, which is pretty solid. The good thing about school business is that it's not something where people just leave. You get in. It's like it's at a fixed income and fixed churn, because it's a subscription model where the cycle is not 1 month but at least 12 months, because 99% of the kids will never leave the school if they enroll in your school. That's the biggest advantage of working within a school. So the business model is phenomenal, because if you take on average in the UK, according to a lot of people I talked to and ChatGPT, it says that the mean private school is at least £1,200 on a lower side in London. and then in a good private school is $2,500. So if we even take the $1,200 a month as a medium quality fees, which I would let you do the numbers on, uh, that makes it $120,000 a month, which means at around $1.4 million a year, which is pretty decent number of revenue just with 100 students. And the fun part is that the cost normally in a school is high quality teachers. The fun part in our school is we don't have teachers. It's all facilitators, which are not very high end, not very well educated, because the moment we take educated people, they try to impose what they know already on the student. And we don't want that.
Yeah.
We want the kids to be themselves. We want these
Yes.
facilitators to be very dumb, not dumb, like not the right word,
Yeah.
but not very well educated, but curious. And they sit with the child and then say, oh, I didn't know that, let's ask Alexa, let's ask Google, let's ask ChatGPT, how should we do this? And they'll become like a like a friend rather than a teacher. And the only most expensive component to this entire operation is one uh, administrator or the principal or the guy who's
Yeah.
organizing this, because we might get a legal notice from someone because it does something totally different like Uber did. When you do something drastically different, people are like, oh, we can't let you do that, that's totally wrong. And people are very scared of new. So
Yeah.
uh, that's the only expensive component to this, and it's very profitable once it's done.
Yeah.
uh, so it's not a bad business to do.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to come in and invest
Yeah.
$300,000 at the moment. Maybe next year, because it looks
Yeah.
really sexy to me. That's really, if I work hard, I can do that. So actually, somebody I know was moving to the UK, and I said, well, you know what, you have 2 more months in Karachi, go and work at the school, and go in the UK and open a branch. It's
Yeah.
fantastic, it's really
Yeah.
profitable. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
um
I think
I'm
just on that, Rian, I think the the potential financial models, I think that's almost the second part, because there's so many ways that that can be reinvested back in. There's so many lifetime value cycles of this, and we also don't know what the funding might be, the purpose of the funding might be from an entity that wants to just continue to level this through, right? So we don't know at this stage, and I wouldn't start with the financial element. I don't think it's the place to start. We don't start with that. We start with the vision, the purpose, the goals and objectives, and then we build the financial element into that, and then we look at the options within the modeling of that. So I believe that if you and I were having conversations and we wanted it to come from a philanthropist even element, it would work, right? And then what does that generate within the whole value cycle that the revenue model could generate? So there's so many elements to it. I think the first bit is just leaning into it and us exploring from what you want this to look like, success. What does the for you, what's the ideal for this in phase one, and then from there we can start to build on to what I would call the outreach to who we want to speak to, the type of investor, if at all. That could be, there's so many ways now. We could do it through fractionalization, tokenization, individuals, groups, whatever it is, because I think it's got such a purpose and a powerful motive to it, that you would get interest from so many different areas, and it's how we package it up and how we take that out relative to what your vision is. And so that's the bit where I would start with. I'd start right there.
Let me know where and when. I will be happy to. It's exciting. As I said, London is very lovely. It sounds very beautiful to have something like this over there. I'm all for it. But
Me too.
just to let you know, I'm the most laziest person in the planet.
Well, if what you've achieved through being lazy is the result, I'm interested to be lazy and learn from you, for sure. for sure. It's always an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, and
Thank you, Stuart.
yeah, I look forward to. I'll follow up from this call, and we will we'll set it in motion.
Brilliant. And I'm really pathetic at scheduling anything. So
That's all
just
good.
just hit me up whenever you feel like it and you
All right.
have time, and we'll just do it.
Thank you, Rehan. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.